Hi, I'm Matt Collins. I'd like to welcome you to Bob Weber Auto Mart on Douglas Avenue here in Racine, across from Douglas Park. We specialize in 1-year-old, low mileage, almost new cars. And if you'd like to stop by and see them, or see them on our website, bobweberautomart.com, we could save you between $5,000 and $10,000 on your next almost new car purchase.
I'm Michael Burke, and this is Money Talks. Hi, welcome to Money Talks. We have a fun topic today, namely games. Something kind of near and dear to my heart. And with us today is my guest, Michelle Lichtenberg of Wausau. But you didn't grow up Michelle Lichtenberg. You grew up Michelle Weiss from Burlington. You want to just briefly say, you've been in the Journal Times before my recent story on your game, but why were you in the Journal Times growing up?
Well, basically, I have a big sports background. So for Burlington High School, I participated in softball and basketball and cross country, and got some recognition with the all-county positions and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, you did more than participate. You excelled. You also mentioned to me, though, earlier for the story that I did about your games, that your family played games growing up, like tabletop games. What did you play? Because we played a lot of games, too.
We were fans actually of a lot of different card games like Rummy. We liked Yahtzee as well. Yeah. My dad was a fan of checkers, so I liked playing that with him. Got Monopoly board out once in a while, but the length was a little bit of a deterrent sometimes. We get out Apples to Apples and those sort of family board games too.
I keep hearing about Apples to Apples, and I still haven't even ever seen it, so I'll have to check that out at some point. You talked about long games. The worst long game was Risk. We got Risk one year. And even though we would play it to the bitter end, by the end you were just in an unhappy state. It was horrible.
Actually, I don't have personal experiences with Risk. My husband's family does, and just yesterday I was hearing people talking about it and the length of it and how it could be a little long.
But your games are nothing like that. So we'll start out. We're going to be talking about your line of games called Penny for Your Thoughts. What led you to creating your own games?
Well, I think games are great. I mean, they bring people together in a way that some other things just can't. But every time I played one, there was always something about it I wanted to improve. Either the length of time, for instance, like we were talking about, or just be able to incorporate a big group. And I wanted it to be really tons of fun for either the well-established group, where you've known everyone for years, or for the newcomer. So if you're at the Christmas party and you've got the group that's been there forever, but then the new boyfriend that's trying to get to know the family, great game for that sort of thing with everyone getting comfortable with each other and lots of laughs along the way. Yeah. And I want it to be portable so that you could get away from the board and not have it something bulky, because people love to take it to the restaurants or the cabin or on their trips to Jamaica or whatever.
Well, those are a lot of great goals, and it seems like you've incorporated many of those into your games. So you had this background, you were playing games, you were always thinking, I'd like to change this or I'd like to change that. But what was the impetus? Was there a moment when you finally said, hey, I'm going to start?
Yes, Medicare paperwork. I love being a therapist, I really do. But the paperwork,
that's your background as a therapist.
Yes, the paper work that comes with it can be daunting at times. It just keeps getting added on to. And when you're up late and 1 o'clock in the morning on Sunday doing paperwork, you're like, maybe there's a better way. But so that was kind of the catalyst to make it more of a serious venture. And so I developed a prototype at that point and got the responses I was looking for, and then decided to put it into manufacturing.
Maybe this is a good time to just explain, how do you play Penny for Your Thoughts? Explain the game.
So there are 3 different versions. There's really something for everyone. The regular version, really all of them come with 200 unique playing cards and coins, for custom party coins, and the directions, of course. But the regular and junior versions are played with these dials. There's a yes-no wheel on the top and a number wheel on the bottom. And basically a card is read, and it could say something like, I could fall asleep with a spider hovering over me. everyone gives their personal answer to the card that was read yes or no here without anyone seeing how anyone else answered, and then try and predict how many people in the group are going to say yes to that particular question. So if they're playing with a group of 10 or whatever, they size up their group and put the number they think are going to say yes on the bottom. And afterwards, everyone sees how they answered, which is the fun of it.
So everyone shows their own yes or no and counts them up. Right?
Exactly. So the exchanges that come out of it are really what it's all about, because there's a lot of hoots. But if you're exactly right with your yes guess, you get 2 pennies. If you're one off, you get 1 penny, and the first person to get 10 pennies wins the game.
And as I said to you earlier, that sounds like an incredibly short game. That sounds like a 5-minute game.
Yeah, you'll be surprised how long it really does go. Because of all the exchanges and dialogues and stuff that comes out of people's responses, you get to be a lot of storytelling and laughs and collaborations and demonstrations.
Yeah, so people explain why they answered a certain way. Give some more examples of some of the cards, some of the questions on the cards.
Well, on the bag tags, they all show samples of what you might find in it, but for the regular version, I can roll my R's. After 2 years of Spanish, I'm still a no, I just spit, it's terrible. I have a phobia, I'm a wimp when I'm sick, I can do a good impersonation. I always think I can do a good impersonation, but when it actually comes out, it's terrible.
So if you say yes to that, probably people are going to say, oh yeah, what is it? Let's hear it.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're going to, yes, your Bush imitation or your Clinton imitation or whatever, but so it gets to be a lot of fun.
A question I liked, and I used in my story, was I would undertake a dangerous mission with a 95% survival rate for $1 million.
Yeah.
I like that question a lot.
It's cool because, the cards were designed so that I wouldn't even know how my spouse and people closest to me would answer. And that falls true for most people playing the game, because I had a friend I was playing with, and he's like, of course, who wouldn't when it came to that particular question? And then found out his spouse said no, so they were surprised. And after all those years together, it's just kind of cool to go in a new direction.
So talk about the writing of the questions, because they're such a key element to the game. Were you sitting at a computer or?
A lot of times, my free-flowing thoughts come when I'm jogging and hanging out with my dogs, and the thinking juices kind of get turned on whether I want them to or not. So I usually have a collection of new material by the time I'm done jogging. But sometimes, if I'm in the car listening to the radio or whatever, I'll listen for different triggers that will stimulate new thoughts about which direction I could go in with some new cards. And so if you try, it's not that hard to come up with new material.
So since you wrote the 200 questions for each of your 3 versions, I'm sure you've had moments of, I could have used that as a question for this game and this game, right? In other words, you have surplus questions?
Exactly. So I do have all ready to go another 200 playing cards for an extension pack for the regular version.
Oh, okay. So that's how you'll use it.
Yeah. And the games go a long way because it's a different experience, with each group that you play with.
Oh.
So every time you play...
Yeah. So even if the same question came up that you played in a previous game, chances are there'd be some different people
totally different reactions
in
and responses,
Or maybe you'd even change your answer to something.
You might. I mean, I've had lots of people that would be, their circumstances changed. There might be a money-related question that they would have said no to that 2 years later they'll say yes to.
Like the dangerous mission.
Yeah, exactly.
So you give a few examples for the regular version. Why don't you give some examples of the questions for the junior version? And before we get to that, what ages do you have in mind for each of the 3 versions?
I think most people who have a 10-year-old and up really tend to go with the regular version just because it plays with just about everybody. But when you're dealing with the youngsters, elementary age players, you would go with the junior version game. And it's great intergenerational play with lots of questions meant to bridge the gaps between the generations. So if you've got grandparents that are coming to the holiday function and you always end up talking about the same things, this is a great way to get to know each other on a whole new level.
You said something about that in our earlier interview, which is I thought was kind of insightful, and that is that grandparents always know more about the grandkids than the other way around.
Right.
What would be an example of a question where maybe it helps the kids discover something about the grandparents?
Yeah. Things like I've been in a parade You know, I have had stitches. I've worn shin guards. You know, the grandparents always know those things about the grandkids, but the conversation never gets turned around to the grandparents. You know, and what their experiences might have been like as youngsters. And
So the grandparents are always going to win that game.
well, even the grandkids are impressed at what they start realizing you know, about those around them. You know, like I've had a nickname. Well, you know, it's really cool to find those things out that might not have surfaced before.
Sure.
But you asked about sample cards, and for the junior game, and there's like, I can touch my nose with my tongue, silly stuff, or I know a joke I could tell. I would like to parachute out of a plane. Always interesting to see who's up for that. And I would eat a worm for $50 or some examples.
Yeah, I like that one. I also like I know a joke I could tell, because then that would lead, of course, to, okay, what's the joke?
Right.
Right.
Some are worth telling and some aren't. But
Now, you also have another version. Why don't you talk about what you call your poker version?
Yeah, so it's a little racier game. It's played slightly differently, but all the teachers and churchgoers that love those said, you know, those are great. Do you have a naughty version too? So we aimed to please and came up with a poker version. You don't need to know how to play poker to play it, but it's lots of hoots. People say their gut hurts from laughing, but played slightly differently. Instead of yes, no dials, every player has a yes card and a no card, and here it matters who read the card. So if I read something like I have a unique talent, I put my yes or no card face down. All the other players put their yes or no card face down, trying to match mine. Wager on confidence of their answer, double your wager.
Oh, they try to match, okay.
Yep. After the wagers are made, the card reader shows how they answered. The players that got it right double their wagers. The ones that didn't lose it. First to arrive 25 with coins wins.
So the wagering explains the name of the poker version.
Exactly. Wager on the confidence of your answer.
Are there one or two examples of questions that are kind of semi not so naughty? Or do we not want to go there?
A great laugh can be a turn on.
Okay, that's pretty safe.
Yeah, and I gave you my other safe one in my lead-in, so without thinking about it, I don't...
Okay.
I would say, you know, I've been told for an adult game it's pretty tame, but, you know, you do have to go into that R nature of movie material to be comfortable playing it.
Well, let's jump into another product line that you came up with, and that's the stickers. Why don't you, what's the exact name of that product, and why don't you explain those?
Yeah, so they're just kind of let's get this party started drink stickers, laugh and learn drink stickers. Basically, there are over 100...
The actual name of the product is what exactly?
Children's party stickers. It's laugh and learn, basically with other party members and end cup confusion. So the people can choose from over 100 different stickers, and whether there's a children's version like this.
But so how do you? What's the scenario that you would use these?
Yeah. So let's see. You've got an adult cup here, some samples where people would choose ones that best reflect themselves.
But you're at a party, and it's the stack of cups, right?
Right.
Where you take a cup and your beer or whatever is in it.
Right. So whether it's slush or whatever, pick the stickers that best reflect something cool, funny, unique about yourself, and put it on your drink surface. And then when you set it down, you know it's yours later. But also the cool, quirky things that come out of it are a lot of fun.
So you personalize it, and it's got 2 or 3 things about yourself.
That one's a kid's one, I think.
Yeah, give a couple examples.
So one for me would be I would rather be roughing it than in a spa. I would sing the Happy Days theme song to this party for $50. You would not want to hear me, but I would do it. And then my dad actually picked this one once for his. It's I'm a little off, but I hope it turns you on. Gives you some insight into my quirky dad.
And a couple of quick examples on the kids.
So the kids, I would love to swim with dolphins, glad for goats, and I would like to skydive.
Yeah, okay. And so the idea is that you're holding this cup and you meet somebody and what do you have on yours and what do you have on yours, and it tells you something about the person.
Right.
But
you can learn a lot from their cup.
Yeah, but it also helps you remember your own cup.
Exactly.
There's only going to be one like it. We have very little time left, but you also have a jewelry line. You want to just mention what that is?
We started that off of the Penny for Your Thoughts theme, and
And you're wearing an example, by the way.
I am actually. This one's a customized one for myself. It talks about riding and being free because it's for me horseback riding, but it could be for the Harley riders or whatever as well. We started out with just premising it off of the theme of the games with like fun, laugh, play, and and then went into more custom designs for kids for people who maybe want to have their medal stamped, their kids' names on it, or have their kids' birthstones, or different faith-based themes, and a variety of things to personalize it even more for the people who might be interested.
Yeah. Well, I had intended to get into a lot more, such as the whole how you got this into the manufacturing process and a lot of those things. But why don't you mention before we end here? Why don't you just mention where within Racine County you can buy these, and of course your website, because if somebody sees it from outside Racine County, that's probably how they would go about finding your game.
Sure. Our website is www.pennyforyourthoughts.com.
Okay.
So it reflects the product name. And then locally, they can be found at Nelson's. It has 2 locations in Racine. Apple Holler, Grapes to Glass, it's a wine type place in Sturtevant, and in the
Gooseberries?
And Gooseberries, yes,
Burlington.
in Burlington. And I don't know if I know.
Are any of these listed on your website?
Yes, they're all.
Okay.
We have a store locator, so
Okay. Does that
you
work
can put
now?
in your zip code. Yep, and it'll
Okay.
point you to the store that's closest.
Okay, pennyforyourthoughts.com. Michelle Lichtenberg, it's fun stuff. Thanks for being on Money Talks, and good luck with the games.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Hi, I'm Matt Collins. I'd like to welcome you to Bob Weber Auto Mart on Douglas Avenue here in Racine, across from Douglas Park. We specialize in 1-year-old, low mileage, almost new cars. And if you'd like to stop by and see them, or see them on our website, bobweberautomart.com, we could save you between $5,000 and $10,000 on your next almost new car purchase.